This video will introduce you to some of the online tools that are available, which will hopefully make your revision a little more effective. So what does make us more effective learners? How do we remember things? We need to know this before we start our revision if it's going to be effective. Studies have shown that we only remember about 10% of what we read, so it's no good on its own just reading through a textbook or reading through your notes. Listening to things does improve things a little bit. We remember about 20% of what we hear, so listening to what other people have got to say and their explanations will help us to remember a bit, but still not everything. We do remember about 30% of what we see, so looking at pictures is very useful to try and help us remember information. When we combine the last two, we remember about half of everything that we see and hear together, so this really has got to be the best way forward. However, we remember about 70% of what we say, so it just goes to show we're more interested in what we have to say than other people. This does mean that it helps to try and explain things to other people. This will help you to remember it. And if we really want to remember something, the best thing to do is to actually do something. To do something and to talk about it. Combining those two things will help you to remember it much more than if you just read from a textbook. Bearing these principles in mind, there are probably three ways technology can help you with your revision. They are, firstly, to help you organise yourself and all the huge amounts of information that you're trying to take in. Technology can also help you to try and memorise that information. And thirdly, it can help you to work together on your revision, even if you're not in the same place. These three areas aren't independent. For example, you might be working together to organise your resources, or one person may have created a quiz for somebody else to have a go at. So although we can look at them as three separate areas, they are in fact very much interconnected. So we're going to first look at how we can organise ourselves, and in particular how we can organise our time. The most obvious way of doing that was simply with a stopwatch. So we could maybe use a mobile phone, or we could possibly use an online stop clock. The advantages of this are that whilst there's a stopwatch running on your computer or on your phone, it might deter you from using it for something other than what you should be doing. If you do find it difficult to remain disciplined, it might be worth keeping a learning log or a revision log. What you could do is simply, each revision session that you've planned, at the end of it, write down how well it went. Did you stay focused or did your mind wander? There's a very good reason for doing this. The very act of documenting it will help you to remain focused, and you'll also be able to see if you've made progression over the weeks. Next, we're going to look at how we can organise internet resources. We're going to start with a website called Digio. When you go to the website and you log on for the first time, you'll be asked to set up a user account. Do make sure that you use your school email address. The reason for this is you'll get additional privileges because you're part of the school. Once you've done that, you'll need to go to Tools. One of the tools is something called a Digilet. A Digilet is basically just a favourite. It sits on your favourites bar, but when you click on it, something very special happens. It basically makes a pop-up menu bar appear. Once you've got it set up, you need to go to any website you like. Something that might be useful for revision would be a good start. So in this case, we're looking at Wikipedia and we're looking at Erosion. Once you've done that, go and find that Digilet favourite. When you click on it, the toolbar will appear. You'll notice at the top there we've got highlight and a variety of other things. We're going to click on highlight. What this allows us to do is, surprisingly enough, it highlights the parts of the web page, and you can choose from one of 4 colours. So going through the web page, highlighting the bits which are really important. Now that on its own is quite interesting, it's quite useful, but it doesn't really show the whole power of Digilet. Where it becomes really useful is what happens next. Go up to the top toolbar, find Digio, and find My Library. When you click on that, it will take you through to a page where it will show you all the things that you've ever highlighted. So we can see at the top here we've got Erosion, and it's just got the particular key points that we've highlighted. So we've condensed a very large website into just a few key points. It's possible to share these notes with someone else, and you can also create a link to the web page where you had all the highlighted parts. The next website that might be of use is something called Pearltrees. Pearltrees allows you to put together bookmarks of particular websites and group them together. You can also search for other people's groupings of particular websites that may be of use to you. Pinterest does a similar job, but just with pictures. On Pinterest, people pin pictures which they like of a particular category onto what are called boards. You can share these boards and share pictures, and you can re-pin pictures to your own boards. You can search by categories, so for example there we are looking at science and nature, and if there's something there you like, you can re-pin it to your board. Alternatively, you can search by keywords. Here we're going to search for alpha particle. This brings up a number of pictures associated with that, and that one in the middle, that looks good, that will fit with my revision. And here we have a picture of an alpha particle and a description of what's happening underneath. I think I'm going to repin that to one of my boards. So I click on the repin button, and you can see it gives me a choice of which board to pin it to. Well, it's not static electricity and I don't have a board for that, so I'm going to create one, radioactivity. Do I like the description? Let's just check it. Yep, description's fine, so pin it. We can now take a look at the boards that we've created. Click up on the top toolbar, onto boards, and you can see we've got one for radioactivity with the alpha particle that we've just seen, one for static electricity with lightning, and an astronomy board with a picture of the sun. Next we're going to look at how we can memorise all those facts and bits of knowledge which you need. We're going to start with flashcards. They've been around for a long time in paper form, but there's also an online version as well. Other people have made them, so you can go on and use theirs, or you can make your own. You may like to test yourself with online quizzes and tests. Quipper is one possibility, which has an app, and so is Sporkle. These will give you questions which you can again try other people's, or you can make up your own quiz for others in your group. If you like making mind maps or concept maps, there's a good piece of software called Xmind. However, this is something which you'll need to download onto your home computer. Another tool for learning might be presentations. Prezi has lots of presentations which you can download and have a look at, or again you can make your own. Remember, doing will help you to learn. SlideShare is a similar type of thing which converts PowerPoints into online content. Don't forget about the portal. There's an awful lot of resources there your teachers have put up onto the website. You might find some of these useful. Everything so far has been very visual, but what about listening to things? There's a number of sources where we can get podcasts where you can learn just by listening. The Khan Academy is one example, and iTunes is another. They've actually just released a new thing called iTunes U, where they have educational courses which you can download. Podbean.com is very similar again. And of course there's video, and where better to start than YouTube. And don't forget, you can create the content as well. Doing does lead to better learning. The last section we're going to look at is how we collaborate. Nearly everything we've seen so far has some form of collaboration where you can get together and share the learning resources that you found or created. Of course, the obvious way to collaborate online is using social networks. I'm sure most of you use them already. Facebook we prime amongst those. You might want to set up a revision group. Open up a group and invite a few friends, and use it as a way of communicating just the things about revision. Another option would be to use Twitter. You could use a hashtag, for example, hashtag RHSstudy, and then when you tweet something including the hashtag, people will be able to follow that conversation and see all of the tweets with the relevant bits of revision. You may be thinking, well, I don't want people that follow me on Twitter to see all the stuff that I say about revision, and quite rightly so. So for that reason I suggest that it would be a good idea to have two accounts, one for social use and one for more professional use. Another advantage for this is when you're going for employment. You may not want employers seeing what's on your social network sites, so you could potentially delete those and just leave your professional ones. Now, not everything here is going to suit you. You need to try things out and work out what is useful and what isn't. It may be that none of it is, but that's fine, at least you've tried it. What is important though is that if you've found that something isn't working, don't just keep going back to it. Make sure that you work with people that you know will support you. Potentially, if there's 4 of you, and each of you put in a quarter of the effort, you're going to get 3/4 back out. And finally, the internet is a very distracting place. You do need to be disciplined and maintain your focus throughout. Thank you for listening to this video. I'd love to hear what works and what doesn't, and good luck with your revision.